Welcome to the Sonia Buchanan Show, where we inspire one life, one smile at a time. Great day, everyone. It is time for the Sonia Buchanan Show, where we inspire one life, one smile at a time. Listen, you all, we have a wonderful discussion for you today. But first, let me give you the title. It is called Your Feet is Planted. Listen, this month of February, as I stated in a previous podcast, that we're going to lay the foundation, the first quarter pretty much, and making sure that what we discuss is going into a deeper discussion, just kind of giving you the foundation of things so we can go forth in the 2022. As you know, our first 2 years has been very hectic, and the year 2022 seems to be kind of like a up and down. But, you know, we have to lay the foundation. So when we go through these up and down, shaky things, that the foundation is still sturdy and the foundation doesn't move as you continue to walk forward and build upon going forward. We lost so much in the year 2020. But yet we gained a lot. We gained sturdiness. We gained our credentials of who we are. We gained peace. We gained, many people gained their family back. They realized, you know, what was the important things that laid before them because we were all quarantined. But again, our title today is Your Feet is Planted. I wanted to discuss a couple of things, and as I stated, I want to blend the reality of today and also just certain types of verses that would kind of give you the strength to go forth. Whether you believe or not that Christ existed, I don't know, but that's not, I want to go towards in that direction. But again, our title is called Your Feet is Planted. I posted something about 2 a.m. this morning, and I said, I made a quote, and I said that a oak tree knows it is an oak tree. It's not confused about that. It knows it's an oak tree. And as I was growing up, my parents decided to build their home due to there was a lot of rockiness in America at the time. In the 80s, the Ford Motor Company had declared a layoff for the entire plant. And my dad worked for Ford Motor Company, so he was one of the ones that was laid off. And at the time, my parents was selling their home, and they were buying property, and they was going to have their home built. During this process, Ford laid my father off, okay? And so here it was that they were in this position where they sold the home, and the house was not completed because there was not the revenue that was coming into the home to do the balance of transitioning from one. So we had to stay. We had to actually move to an apartment. That was the very first time I've ever lived in an apartment, is during that time, which was the most amazing time. I love that community when you do that. But so as my father was laid off during that season, the whole process of someone else building the house had came to a halt because now the revenue from employment was not coming in. And so my father had to go in and start building his house himself. And he had friends to come over to help lay the foundation. This is something that I will never forget. And because anytime when you lay a foundation of anything on a ground that could shift, you have to make sure that the foundation is laid properly. And that's every corner, every solid part of that foundation has to be even. And of course, if anybody anybody know anything about building anything, the inspector comes and inspects the foundation. The inspector comes and makes sure that that foundation is solid, even from every square inch of that concrete. And I remember his friends, they had to dig the ground. Again, they didn't have the proper people who would come and do that, so they had to do it manually themselves, and they had to lay it down and make sure the foundation was laid properly, because anytime when you build on a foundation that is not solid and even, later on the ground can kind of shift and move, and the foundation will crack. This is one of the reasons why sometimes when you're buying a home and the inspector comes to make sure that the house does not have a cracked foundation, because if it does, it has to dig beneath the ground, and they have to shift the ground and also bring the foundation to a properly causing it to be leveled. That's later on after you have built the house, and that cost a lot of money. But again, I stated early this morning as a post, and I said, a oak tree knows it's an oak tree. And I when I posted that, I really got to thinking, and because of my parents building a house, I remember my dad had planted, after the house was built, he would plant different trees in the yard, and he was dissatisfied about a particular tree that was planted in the yard, and it had grew up. And I was thinking, he's digging up this tree. Is it possible that he's able to take that tree from one location to another location? And what I saw was that he did that on several different trees. Some trees was able to take root depending on the growth and the length of the growth and the time of the growth. But then there were some trees that he did that, and the tree did not root as it would if it was planted the first time. The tree, the leaves began to die, and the tree did not live, because it is very difficult to just take a grown tree, uproot the roots that has been grounded and secured, familiarized with that season of soil, and it was perfect for this particular place. Now, what was the difference between the trees that lasted, that he uprooted, and the tree that died? Well, at the time when my parents bought the I think the acreage, I think it was like maybe 4 acres of property. When they purchased that, there was a stream in the back of the yard. And as my father continued to build, he covered up the stream. Well, there was a tree that was planted there. It was a fruit tree. Not a fruit tree, it was a certain type of tree. I can't remember what kind of tree it was. And he uprooted that tree that was near the stream and tried to relocate that tree. I will never forget this. This is the truth. I'm telling the truth about certain vegetation. And this really not just all about vegetation. It's about people too. It's about anything that have been rooted somewhere, and that's where it's supposed to be. And to uproot it and move it to someone else, to another place, it may not sustain the living cycle for that particular tangible thing. And I remember him removing that tree, that the stream was no longer, because he continued to cover up the stream. So when it rains, the stream would never redevelop itself, because my dad always maintained the yard. And he moved that tree to another location in the yard because of the reason he was covering up the stream, thinking it would save the tree, but it did not save the tree. The tree died, because that particular tree that was originally part of that land was not supposed to have been moved to another location in the yard. It could not sustain itself in another location. It only could sustain itself to where that stream was originally, and that's what that particular tree needed to be. It died. I began to see, after so many days, the leaves began to brown, and eventually my dad just went on and just uprooted the tree and just threw it out. And what I want to talk about, because our title again is Your Feet is Planted, is that when I posted that an oak tree knows it's an oak tree, is that right now there's so many different things that's going on, transformational in our seasons. And as I have been speaking about understanding your purpose, right now is a very good time to do that, and it's an urgency to do that, because we're going into another cycle of transformation, and you need to be really solid about that foundation. And I use the foundation of the concrete because the foundation I want to use also in your purpose. Your purpose, knowing who you are. If you're not sure about who you are, know who you are. Know the things that you do, because it is very important that when we transform into another place, you need to be sturdy and stable in that, because that's what's going to secure you. That's what's going to hold you. That's what's going to lead you to where you are needing to be planted in this new place that we're going. So that you won't be confused about who am I, where I supposed to be, who I supposed to be listening to, who I supposed to be covering under, who I supposed to be connected to. And one of the things I want to talk about in this particular show is that every person in this world was not left out on a purpose, not left out on a gifting, not left out on a place and a season for who you are. I remember seeing a video this week where a lady and a 2-year-old boy entered a plane, and the little boy, according to his mother, stated that my son is so fascinated with planes. And as they entered the plane, the pilot took interest in it and let the little boy sit in the plane seat. And his eyes was like gazed at all the different knobs and the lights of the plane. And it just really enlightened him, because his mother recognized that, she says, this is going to be my little pilot. She recognized the gifting of her son at 2 years old. And I was very delighted about that. I was very happy about it, because this is going to start his way, his pathway, his journey. This is the foundation that is now being laid, that the mother's aware. She can give the son the proper direction and support, and giving him the direction because he loves planes. And this is something that I know a lot of people are missing. Who am I? And you know who you are. You just haven't sat down and figured that out, but it's there. And but again, we're going into another cycle of a different lifestyle. Some jobs is not going to be prevalent anymore. Cashiers is not going to be as prominent. We have automatic cash in where you check out your own items, and now the cashiers are no longer going to be as many. Right now they're doing self-driving for cars. So we're thinking about Lyft. How are they going to handle that? How are they going to handle Uber, with self-driving cars? There are so many jobs are going to be questionable. Is it going to remain? Is it going to go into the transformational season in AI? What's happening? We have content navigating that's on social media that is remarkable. We have internet real estate. And it took me a minute to try to understand, how do you purchase interstate? These are some of the things that, if you are called to be in real estate, this is an avenue that you may want to go into, because they having this NFT real estate where people can buy real estate, I guess, how you say real estate on NFT, which is, it's the weirdest thing, but I understood exactly what they're talking about. Buying real estate when it's in artificial intelligence, There are certain things that you have to understand if you are gifted in one area, going into another area, and this technology that you may want to look at right now, because you don't want to get into a place when it's oversaturated with so many people and you can't find your voice. And I also want to talk to you about not losing your relationship with God, because, of course, God is the creator of all things. There's one spirit, and there's many different categories here on this earth, but there comes from one resources of knowledge, and that is the God of this universe. You cannot avoid it. He is the creator of all things. He is the creator of knowledge, understanding, intellect, and all of these things. And I want to talk to you all about, I don't want to just talk to you about one segment of life. I want to talk to every segment, because we have, I mentioned before in a previous podcast, we have 7 mountains that I guess we look at 7 mountains of influence. We have family, we have education, we have government, we have business, we have media, we have entertainment, and I'm leaving one out. I can't remember. But what I want to talk to you all about is the difference between, because I've had this discussion the other day when I went walking, and I was listening to a young lady, and she was asking about, religion, the kingdom, democracy, politics, and all of these things. And she was having a discussion about, we shouldn't have religion with politics. And I had to explain, I went to explain to her the difference between democracy and republic and the kingdom. And there's a completely difference, but I don't want to go into our discussion that we discussed, but I want to explain the kingdom, democracy, and when we talk about the politics, when you are a part of a kingdom system, and the people who are part of a kingdom system is completely different. It's not a democracy, And the difference between a democracy and the kingdom is God chooses his citizens, and a democracy is the people choose their leader. And then because a democracy leader can be chosen, the people also can throw the leader out. In a kingdom, God chooses his citizens, and you cannot throw God's citizens out. They just part of the kingdom of God. And I want to go into that segment of knowing that you're part of the kingdom. I remember when I was starting to come on, just being directed towards doing what I'm doing. And I remember hearing a clarion call to now I had to shift and understanding different roles and different protocols and different things that I needed to learn in order to be here. But it wasn't that I wasn't part of the kingdom, and I realized the difference between it. I needed to understand just pretty much everything, how it all relates to my life, because it's very important to do that with you, with me, with your surroundings, and understanding where you fit. And that was something that I used to ask all the time. Father, tell me, where do I fit in this whole scenery of earth? How can I go forward? Well, I want to tell you, to those who are frustrated that people don't support you, and your family or your friends or just people you thought that would support you. Well, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, because this is something that I want to share with you about and experience on my journey. Now, I have had some support, but the majority of the support that I have received was through prayer and getting answers. That way that you won't be disappointed when you know people should support you and they don't. I don't want you to go and feel terrible about people not supporting you. One of the things that I found out that this is something interesting because I battled with the non-support where I'm doing the same thing as everybody else, but then there are certain areas where people are supporting and then they're not supporting you. That's okay, because there was a scenario. I heard someone say the other day, God is this God of universe and he has all of this knowledge and he has these different avenues of where he can lead you. He says, and this what made me feel so much better. I heard this many years ago, probably over 15 years ago, and I would never forget it. In fact, I was cleaning my office the other day, and I saw a sticky note that I wrote this down, and I put it in my office so I would never forget it. And he said, if you shake hands with a man or with a woman, you're only limited with knowledge based on their knowledge. He said, but if you shake hands with God, you shake hands with everything, all knowledge, all wealth, all everything. You shake hands with the one who created everything. And this is why I want to talk to you about, as you continue on your journey, is to remember that God is all knowledge. And not use so much energy being upset that people don't support you. People will support you and people won't support you. But if you don't spend so much energy on that segment and know that if you shake hands with God, he supports you and the universe supports you. Vegetation support you. The animals support you because they're all part of that kingdom system. Your feet is ordered by God himself to lead you to the places where you should be, and they are planted. And if you stay with him and you stay with just remembering your purpose, your feet will always be planted in that purpose. It cannot be removed. It's just part of your spiritual DNA. And I just wanted to encourage you to continue to go forward. There will be good days and there will be not so good days. And on those not so good days are those days that you are learning for the next day. So I always say good days and not so good days, because not so good days is those days that the foundation is being laid as you continue to walk forward for the next day, or that not so good day is for your future, because it kind of shapes and open your mind to the universe of knowledge, which is God the Father. It causes you to pray for assistance. It causes you to raise up the level of pulling down the knowledge that you need daily on those hard days and on those days when you need directions. Because anytime when anything is easy, is not pressing against the weight and the muscles that you need to go forward. And so as we continue to go forward during this season, just remember you are grounded because you're going through the stages of planting your foundation, and it is sturdy. Just build and find out what type of material you want to build on your foundation. I know I'm speaking in terms of building things, but I want you to know that your feet is planted, and don't be uprooted. Don't shake your level of, well, this is not working. One of the things I want to talk to you also about when things seems to not work, I have bamboo trees in my backyard. They're growing. They was actually in my neighbor's yard, and she had them uprooted. And so the bamboo trees now are starting to spread in my yard. I think they're the most beautiful trees. But one of the things about bamboo trees, they grow in the ground and they're rooted. They're hard to get rid of because their roots system is strong and it goes deep into the ground. And in order to get rid of the bamboo trees, you have to dig probably 10 to 15 feet down to make sure that the root is no longer, because they grow deep into the ground. Now, before the bamboo tree shows itself in my yard, the roots has already been grounded inside the ground. This is why I said don't ever give up on who you are to go forward, because some people have to lay the root of going forward and creating your purpose and going forward into the season. Although there are many different seasons that happens in a year, there are many different tornadoes and volcanoes and all of this, but those bamboo trees were still rooting in my ground, and they are now all over the place. And so I want you to know, just keep going forward this year. And we're all going to be, if you don't lose your faith in yourself, don't lose your faith in believing who you are. And remember, you are part of the kingdom system, a citizen of God, because God has given each and every one of us our own separate garden to till to it. So I want you to go forward and just stay strong and keep your head up, and learn about this technology, because it's coming and there's nothing you can do about it, because it's already been thought about maybe 20 years ago that we're going into this transformational moment. It started out when we were leaving analog into digital. That was a season of introducing you to the AI system. So there's so much is going on in our world around us, and don't be distracted by things that has nothing to do with your purpose and where your feet is grounded. Okay? As I stated in the beginning of this podcast, I said that an oak tree knows it's an oak tree. So I want to ask you a question. What do you know that you know about you? Because that oak tree knows it's an oak tree. What are you? And that's what you have to answer. If you can answer that question in probably 4 words, then you're grounded, and go from there. But listen, you guys, that is all I want to talk about today. And I want you to have a great day and a great week and a great year. Remember that we do have one link to all of our social media accounts, our e-stores, my author page, and so much more that is on that one link. If you're looking for us, you can contact us. We have a phone number that you can call and leave a message, or you can text. But I want you to know that we are there. We on our Comfort and Promises website, we have a lifeline link where there are emergency numbers for those who are going through troubling times, mental conditions, or suicidal or depression. And there's also a number on our Lifeline support tab where if you need someone to talk to, there is a number. It's called Friendship Line. And if you need someone to talk to, there is a number there that you can call and develop a friendship with these people, and they will talk with you as some people need to be talked to and needing a friend. But if you go to comfortandpromises.com, click on the Life Support tab, all those numbers are there. We are still researching for other numbers because there's so many people. There's so many different things that's going on, and I want to make sure that we have the proper numbers on that website so you can go there. Listen, you guys, this is the end of our podcast, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I know the podcast was a little bit lengthy and long, and we want to make sure that you stay steadfast, stay grounded, stay balanced, stay focused, and one of the things also, and make sure you have fun. Make sure you laugh. Make sure you enjoy yourself. Make sure you take time out and relax and enjoy yourself. Okay? So this is your girl, Sonya Buchanan, with the Sonya Buchanan Show, where we inspire one life, one smile at a time. Bye, you guys. Have a good day.
Did you know by being the best you in just 60 seconds a day can add up to a positive, better you in a total of 365 minutes a year? That's 6 hours exactly. Be the best you, even if it's slowly achieved by seconds. You'll gain more to being a prosperous you. Remember, as you take steps, whether they're small or large, the end results will be surprisingly great. Visit us on comfortingpromises.com, and while you're there, visit our store with the latest products available.
Thank you for joining our podcast today. The podcast was produced and edited by Sonya Buchanan. For more information about the host, you can go to sonyabuchanan.com. For information about Comforting Promises broadcast community, you can go to comfortingpromises.com. Thank you for listening to our broadcast, The Sonya Buchanan Show, where we focus on one life, one smile at a time. Until next time, bye you guys.